2.4, we're going to be writing equations of lines. The first form of your equation should be very familiar. Y equals mx plus b. What does the m stand for? Slope. What does the b stand for? Y-intercept. So since it's the slope and the y-intercept, we call that slope-intercept form. So if we talk about slope-intercept form, that's what we're talking about. And all of your answers today will be in slope-intercept form. Your final answer, that's the form we're going to put them in. Now this one, the second one. Now, I do believe we talked about it very briefly if you were in my geometry class last year. I think everybody in this group has been. But we didn't spend a lot of time. It's a little less familiar. It's called point-slope form. The reason it's called point-slope form, the m still stands for slope. The x and y are still just going to be x and y. The x1 and the y1 are any point on the line. Okay? Any point on the line. So we call it the point-slope form. We have, if you know a point and you know the slope, this is the form you're going to start with to write an equation of any line. The next one we're not going to use today, but on the second half of this, if you know any two points that are on a line, x1, y1, x2, y2, to find the equation of that line, you're going to first find the slope, which you know how to do. That formula that I said needs to be burned in your memory forever. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then you're going to write an equation using the point-slope form. So first you're going to find your slope. Use either one of those points, doesn't matter which one, and you'll write your equation. The last one we used a little bit yesterday. When you were doing your graphing, ax plus by equals c. Now you'll notice in this one, usually we have small letters. This time there's capital letters. And anytime you change the case of the letters, it actually means something. What this means is when you do standard form, ax plus by equals c, the x and y are on the same side of the equal sign. And there are no fractions or decimals. In other words, the a, b, and c are integers if it's in standard form. So if you have something with a 1/2 x plus y equals c, you'd have to multiply everything in there by 2 to get rid of the fraction in order for it to be in standard form. Okay? Any questions about all those forms of lines? Now, we're going to use some of those. The first one should be fairly familiar, shouldn't be too hard. If I'm given the slope of a line and the y-intercept of a line, remember this is the b, then I'm going to write an equation using slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. I substitute 3/4 for m, -2 for b, and I get y equals 3/4 x minus 2. We're done. Any questions about that? Like I said, that part should be pretty straightforward. Now, we're going to use point-slope form, because if I know a point on the line and I know what the slope of my line is, then I use point-slope form. So the first thing I want you to do is write down the formula for that. Now I'm going to say right here, the most common error that I see on this one is students forgetting to put the parentheses in the right places. They're really important. Make sure you use them correctly. Okay, now, the next thing that I do is I say, okay, well, my m is -3, and I label this. This is x1, and this is y1. Helps me keep from getting confused. The y stays just a y. Minus. Now my y1, I look up here, that's labeled, it's a 4. Equals, m is -3. My x stays as an x. My x1 is a 5. And there's my linear equation in point-slope form. Any questions about how I substituted there? Okay, this is not your final answer. You have to put it into slope-intercept form, so you're going to distribute your -3. You get y minus 4 equals -3x plus 15. You're going to add 4 to both sides, and you get y equals -3x plus 19. That's your final answer, and that's the form that I want your final answers to be in. Okay, questions on that? One more page. Now, the other type of problem you're going to see today is we're going to write an equation that goes, of the line that goes through point -2, 3, and you're given this information. I want to write the equation of the line that's parallel to y equals -4x plus 1. Now, I already know the point. I just need to know the slope. Well, what's the slope of this line, y equals -4x plus 1?
-4 over 1.
-4, or -4 over 1, right? Okay. What's the slope of the line parallel to that?
-4 over 1.
Same deal. So now I know my slope, I know my point. -2, 3 is x1, y1. So I write out my formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, and I substitute. Y minus, okay, my y1 is 3, my m is -4, I have x minus, my x1 is -2. Okay, well, I look at that, x minus and -2 becomes plus. I have to simplify, get this in slope-intercept form, so I distribute. So I get -4x minus 8 equals y minus 3. Add 3 to both sides, and I get y equals -4x minus 5. Okay, final answer. One more.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer. The next one. Now this is the same equation. Y equals -4x plus 1, but the difference is I want to write the equation of a line through the point -2, 3 that is perpendicular to that.
So it's going to be a +4 over 1 slope. No, 1 over 4.
It's going to be a positive 1 over 4. My slope on my original equation is still the same. I'm going to call that M1. The slope of my perpendicular line has to be opposite sign, so it's going to be positive, and a reciprocal, so it's going to be 1 over 4. Everybody remember that? Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing again. My point is still x1, y1 is -2, 3. So use that information and that information. Write it out again. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, the y stays a y. The y1 is still 3. My m now is 1/4. X minus x1 is -2. So minus and -2 becomes +2. I'll distribute my 1/4. There will be some fractions involved here, folks. 1/4 times x is 1/4 x. What's 1/4 times 2?
1/2.
1/2. 2/4 is 1/2. I get y minus 3, so I add 3 to both sides. I get y equals 1/4 x plus 3.5. Now, comment about fractions. When it is a slope, I want it in the form of one number over another number. If it's an integer, that's fine, like the -4. Otherwise, it's going to be 1/4 or an improper fraction, 7/4, something like that. Slope is always a fraction. If this can be a mixed number or a fraction, I would accept this as 3.5 or 7/2, doesn't matter. Okay? Questions? Okay, your assignment today.